Will Mission Impossible Fallout self-destruct, or can Tom Cruise bring another winning installment to the series? We talk about that and more today on The Real Review, so stay tuned. Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Eve Studios. We get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. I'm here with Matt. Da-da-da. Hey, and who am I?
Everybody, I'm here with Joel.
Mm-hmm.
5 seconds till you self-destruct Cunningham. Because
Yeah.
of the movie that we reviewed.
It's because I'm so top secret.
Yes, you are top secret, Joel.
Full of top secrets. There
Absolutely you are.
Sweet. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Mission Impossible 5 today.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. We took a little bit of time off. Before I get into that, let me just say here, for those of you that are viewing, watching the podcast for the first time.
Watching it?
Welcome.
Watching the podcast
Yes.
for the first time?
Watching or listening to the podcast. I'm still waking up. I'm not going to lie. Jeez, man, mentally, I'm going to have this is going to be a challenging one for me.
I would love to watch a podcast.
There you go. Watching the vidcast on YouTube or listening to the podcast on iTunes or
Yes.
whatever streaming service they like to use.
Totally.
For those that are new to the podcast, how about that? Matt and I like to review things. We have a bit of a differing but similar perspectives. We like a lot of the same stuff. We kind of tend to, but for different reasons. Matt tends to be more of the fan perspective, whereas I tend to be more of the critical type perspective.
Sure.
And we combine those to give you what we think is a real thought and perspective as we go on this journey for watching and learning about films and media and all types of stuff. One of these days, I'll finish doing this. But we also need to get a Tube Talk episode back out. We haven't done one of those in a while.
It's been crazy. Hopefully we can do that soon.
There's a couple shows I've been watching and checking up on. I know Better Call Saul is just about to start back up, or did yesterday.
So excited.
Or soon. I also just started watching Dark on Netflix, which is an interesting show.
Yeah, it's apocalyptic, right?
Apocalyptic. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a German... No, it's not apocalyptic. It's a German version, I would say, of Stranger Things. That's the best way I could put it.
Oh, it's not apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's like it's a slightly darker version.
Oh, Rain. That's the one that I'm thinking of is apocalyptic. Never mind. Okay.
Yes, but before we get into things, why don't you give our listeners and watchers some ways to get connected to this vid podcast thing?
Definitely Joel Bartholomew Cunningham. That's not his middle name, but you can get connected with us in a number of different ways. The main way you could do that, probably most efficiently, is through the Real Review Media website, which is realreviewmedia.com. You can connect through all of our social media platforms, be it Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, which is at Real Review Media, and then also youtube.com/TheRealReview. And then also you can email us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com. But that is how you can do that. And you can reach out to us and do it. Lots of updates. It's good stuff.
Two things. One, I want to say I was listening to this really good podcast out there. I told you about this.
Yes.
It's called Inside Jaws.
Yes.
It's a really great podcast if you want to listen to that.
It's about a man trapped in a shark who's doing a podcast.
How did I get in this shark to do this podcast with all my gear?
Exactly.
And where am I plugging in my power? No. It's about the story of how Steven Spielberg created Jaws and kind of leading up to it, how he got into the directing world and everything, but it also tells true stories of people getting attacked by sharks and stuff, which is like crazy.
That is crazy.
Very vicious. It's strangely visceral, even though you're listening to the attacks. It's just, ugh. But they talk about how that series, or how like John Williams created the score, that those four notes. And I was thinking as I went the da-da-da, there's almost no other film soundtrack that I can think of that has like four notes like that are just so easily recognizable as that Mission Impossible soundtrack. It's like as soon as you do that, everybody's like, oh, Mission Impossible type stuff. And secondarily,
it's like classical
less
stuff.
Related, but still wanted to mention, and congratulations to you, sir.
Oh, thanks.
Another child in the bag.
That's a weird way of putting it, but yes.
Or out of the bag. I don't know yet. Yes.
Yeah.
I
had my fourth child, which is a huge reason for us not having a show last week.
Right, yeah. So if anyone was wondering why we took the week off, it's because Matt
That's
had
because
a kid,
I had a kid. And
your wife and you had a kid.
I'm still not sleeping much. So stuff.
I'm yet to get there, but I hear different babies do differently, but a lot of times it's very difficult to get the right amount of sleep with the new child.
This one's okay. He's doing better than, I think our first one was still our most difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's just because we're new parents and we had no clue. But
Possibly.
now I'm like, this is my 4th kid, so I'm like,
You're like, got
I'm
this in the
I
bag.
got this, whatever.
Yeah, you're like doing it in your sleep.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. Well, I will consult you then whenever I get to that stage of life. Cool. Well, let's get into it then. Today, we're going to be talking about Mission Impossible Fallout. Brief synopsis for this. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team, along with his familiar allies, race against time after a mission gone wrong. It's a very high-level way of putting that. Directed and written by Christopher McQuarrie. It stars Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, Henry Cavill as Walker, Vin Rames as Luther, Simon Pegg as Benji, Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa. Ilsa, right? Yep. Sean Harris as Solomon Lane. Pretty good bad guy, I would say. Yep. Vanessa Kirby as the White Widow. You also have a brief Wes Bentley in there as Patrick. And then Michelle Monaghan, of course, always pops up as Julia, and Alec Baldwin as Alan Hunley. Sorry. What were your thoughts?
You want to hear something really funny about this movie?
Sure.
Super funny. So a week and a half ago on Saturday, I was at the movie with my dad, and we're watching it. And about 3/4 of the way through the movie, my wife starts texting me, "Hey, I think we need to go to the hospital soon."
Oh, no.
So
oh, no.
I'm sitting there, and I'm enjoying the movie, actually, quite a bit up until that point. And she's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Do I need to leave?" She's like, "No, don't leave." And I go, "Okay." So immediately, like, I'm like, I haven't left the movie. I'm still watching the movie, but I can't not help but think about it while I'm watching the movie. So I'm kind of stressed out while I'm watching this movie at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I think it went from enjoying it to being stressed out and having anxiety while at the same time crazy things are happening on screen.
Yeah.
So I'm just like stressed.
Gotcha.
And then I'm like, okay, and then she's like, "Wait, maybe." No, never mind. And then she's like, "Wait, yeah, you should come home and take me to the hospital.
Oh my
We're going to have a baby." And so I ended up leaving about 20 minutes before the end of the movie.
Okay.
I never saw the end of it.
So you don't know the end?
I don't know the end of it.
Wow.
So
I'm sure you can assume what the general end is.
Right. It's the Impossible Mission Force or whatever they're called, and I'm sure they pulled off some sort of impossible mission.
They all got blown up.
Yep, exactly.
Really badly.
I will say that from what I saw, though, until I started kind of getting stressed out about, the last third, I did enjoy it quite a bit. I was telling you off air a little bit earlier, they did something that I really enjoyed from the first movie that they haven't done since the first movie, kind of a misdirection thing.
Yeah.
That I really like that. It tricked me. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. I was anticipating, okay, there's going to be, like, going into the movie, I'm thinking, there's going to be a weird twist where we think somebody is some guy, but it's really another guy in a mask, because that's what they've done in every movie.
It pretty much always ends up being the case, yeah.
Right, so that happened, and I think it's like the final chase is right where I left the movie, so...
Okay.
With involving helicopters.
So it turns out the helicopter is actually a tank in disguise. And that
Sure. But
it's a spaceship in disguise.
I really enjoyed it. There was an element to it that I really thought. Now here's the unpopular opinion that I have about the Mission Impossible films.
Okay.
Nobody likes the second Mission Impossible. That's fine. I don't like it either.
Well, it's a completely different direction.
Right.
I mean, John Woo, right?
I like the first one. I really love the third Mission Impossible movie. And that's not really a favorite amongst people. A lot of people are like, they all bounce around 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And even this one. And, but specifically for me, I really love the third Mission Impossible because it's the first one to me that made Ethan Hunt kind of come. First of all, they righted the ship a little bit from what happened with the John Woo in the second Mission Impossible. But this one gave emotional stakes to it, where I was able to write. I'm always about, like, what am I feeling? How can I relate to this? And it gave him a wife. Yeah. It gave him that relational connection.
Yeah,
and it had the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman, which I think was just knocked it out of the park as far as what he could do in that role. And that whole thing, that connection, the emotional weight of it just resonated with me in a way that I think I haven't felt over the most recent 3. Yeah. I started getting tinges of that in this one. I don't know how it pans out, but I started getting tinges of that a little bit in Fallout. And I think it kind of making me feel like emotionally involved a little bit more than I did in Ghost Protocol or Rogue Nation.
Okay.
So I did enjoy that. I can't really fully say how I felt about the movie as a whole because I haven't seen it. Yeah. But I did enjoy what I saw. I thought some of it was clever. I couldn't help but think about weird Superman with a fake upper lip every time I saw Henry Cavill with a mustache. Yeah. Because of that. Anyways, that was me.
That's a tie-in from another movie, Justice League. Look it up if you're interested in finding out what he's mentioning there.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, other than that, I guess let's just start with the positives. That's my overall take of it.
I would say, just to follow up on what you're saying there, I think the weakest part to me for the film was the end.
Okay. But so I got all the good parts?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that it was weak. It just kind of felt like we were trying to put everything in its place here at the end. There were definitely some tinges and hints of like, okay, this is a standard Mission Impossible type-esque thing that they're going to do. But they took some Divergent type moments, which I really enjoyed with the film. One in particular was I felt like the overall relationship to the action that Tom Cruise had in this movie, it felt, although it felt very much like, you know, he's going to be better than everybody else and stronger than everybody else and faster than everybody else, it felt more of like he planned out himself well in those circumstances. Because it didn't, like in the original couple Mission Impossibles, it was like, you know, like the John Woo one, he's doing like, you know, motorcycle kung fu. Yeah. And there's just like stuff that's like,
doves.
It's like, how would this be possible for anybody to do? And now that Tom Cruise is kind of, you know, getting up there, it just becomes a little disassociated to think that he could do such insane things. So it never really, I felt like things managed to stay relatively realistic, is what I would say. Relatively realistic. Yeah. I mean, in regards to the action until the end. And then at the end, it got a little bit
Did it
like...
really? Oh.
Yeah, a little bit. Specifically with... So there's kind of two plot lines that are running at the same time at the end. The helicopter and then the other stuff that's... I'm trying not to spoil stuff.
Sure.
The helicopter stuff got a little bit like, okay.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to me. Just in there... I will say, I mean, it's a Mission Impossible movie. It's made to have like ridiculous action set pieces. So... you're going to, no matter what, have moments in pretty much any scene where you're going to be like, that bends the realm of believability, but that just pushed it a bit too far for me there at the end. Overall, though, I still really enjoyed the movie. I think I liked it more than the last one.
Yeah, me too. Me too, so far.
I definitely think they took a deep dip, with the second, and then they started to slowly work their way back up and up. Yeah. And I think maybe I should revisit the third one. Maybe there was such a bad taste in my mouth after the second one.
The third one, but yeah.
But I liked that with that one they tried to give him sort of an emotional connection to something outside of just this Mission Impossible world.
Makes him more of a person than just some guy who can do impossible things.
Right. Yeah. So.
The fighting was so good.
Yeah, the fighting was great.
The hand-to-hand combat, especially the bathroom scene that you saw in all the trailers every time. That whole sequence, it was brutal. Like you felt it. Like it felt real. Yeah. There was also a scene in the club, like kind of close to after that had some really crazy kills. People were getting killed. I was like, dang, that's brutal. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I like the addition of Vanessa Kirby in this as the White Widow, although I felt like her role was a bit unimportant. It kind of felt like she was more just there to move the plot along in the second act to add some interest there. Right. But she didn't really play out into anything all that important in the script. They made the other thing they did in this one, and I thought it was good, is that it kind of, and I'm not going to say who or how, but it gave you some closure with a couple of the characters, I really felt. Okay. Like, it really felt like they're saying, like, okay, we're going to move into the next film with kind of these people, and it felt good. I mean, it's not like I'm like, yay, those people are no longer a part of the franchise for whatever reason, but more of like, you just want to know that the story is moving forward. Right. And if it just kind of spins in the same directions, I think it's like one of the reasons why the new James Bond series is doing as well as it's done, is because it's like changing some elements, and moving things forward. It kind of rebooted everything and gave you a new take on stuff. And I felt like this one didn't give you a new take, but it took some chances with some of the characters and where they're going with them. And it wasn't afraid to kind of like close the door on certain things. So I was happy with that. The cinematography as well, which isn't something that most people maybe are like, oh my God, the cinematography. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I really thought it was well put together, and they did the right amount of slight shake, and the right amount of static. It wasn't overwhelming what shot is what. I could always tell what was going on.
Yeah.
Which it's the worst thing about shaky cam. Acting was good.
You know who I thought was good that I don't normally like actually in movies? He's fine on like the sitcoms I've seen on is Alec Baldwin. I thought he was good in this movie, actually.
Yeah, I always thought he's decent in the series, but he just kind of takes a back seat.
Right.
He took a bit bigger of a seat in this one.
Yeah.
But he had a good character.
Yeah, I liked I liked that whole thing. There's some cool stunts, some really cool stuff that happens in it. You see a lot of this stuff in the trailer. There's the halo jump. That's kind of a cool, kind of semi-funny sequence.
Yeah.
I will say that I felt like the action was really, really good. And there's a couple, like I said, there's a part at the very beginning that it got me, like that I was like, oh, okay, they tricked me there. And then there's another part that got me. I was like, wow, what is happening right now? And I was like, oh, that's things aren't as they appear in this scene. And I was like, and that was about midway through the movie. And I was thinking like, okay, so there's the way that they're filming this is they're playing with my mind a little bit. And I thought that was kind of cool because it wasn't just a standard, bunch of crazy action scenes. There's a little bit of depth to it in the reasonings why things were being done or not being done.
Yeah, there was two. Okay, so I predicted 3 twists throughout the course of the movie. I was right about 2 of them.
Okay.
And I was wrong about the third.
Like at the beginning? Like, what do you mean?
Well, when there's certain, like I'm watching the sequences, I'm like, okay, there's probably more to this that's going on. And I was able to predict like the first one.
Okay.
The one you're talking about.
Yeah. I did predict that.
Yeah.
Dude, it fooled the heck out of me. I was like, what is happening?
No,
right now?
I didn't get it at first, but then as soon as there was a phone call that was made and that started happening, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I figured that one out. That one, but then the secondary one, I figured out that one as well because of certain ways that they shot it and framed it.
Okay.
But then there was a third one that I had actually thought up of that didn't end up happening.
Oh, okay.
Which I was actually really glad that didn't happen because it would have felt really cheesy. You can only push that, hey, I'm somebody else. Right. Pretending to be somebody else realm so far before it's like, come on. Like
when really Henry Cavill is a clone of Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, I mean it's like
there's 2 Tom Cruises.
There's going to be
like
an
evil
scene,
Tom Cruise and a good Tom Cruise.
There's going to be like a scene where they're all fighting each other and then they all just start ripping off each other's masks like Scooby Doo. You know what I mean? That's like what I'm expecting in one of these
I'm
movies.
Ethan Hunt.
Yeah, no, I'm Ethan Hunt.
I'm Ethan Hunt.
I double masked. Yeah. It's like, come on. It's getting a little ridiculous if that's the case. But I felt like they held it back close enough to the chest that it didn't get there. There was some elements to the story that again felt a little bit like because we need this, and that's just kind of the way it is. It's like, well, this bomb thing has this technology that just happens to have this one failsafe,
right?
So it's like okay, there's just things like that are just a little bit like beyond the realm of like realistic, but it happens. I guess
gotcha.
You know what I mean. But I enjoyed it. I mean, overall, when I was watching it, I was just sitting there like, okay, yeah, I can just kind of like get into this and enjoy it for what it is.
Nice.
Yeah, more probably than which I would weirdly compare this to. There'd be like 2 franchises right now that I would compare this to closely. One would be the James Bond, but then the second one would actually be the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, well, this is still a little bit more plausible than Fast and Furious, definitely. For sure. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about Rogue Nation, and I've actually only seen that movie once with not really a big desire to go back and rewatch it again.
Yeah.
I do rewatch. There's that like underwater sequence that I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think this one to me makes me want to go back and, well, obviously to see the ending, but to rewatch some of the sequences again.
I'm trying to remember which one it is where it's the White Rabbit, right? And he has to, not the White Rabbit.
Rabbit's Foot.
The Rabbit's Foot.
That's the third one.
That's the third one.
That's the one that I love.
Right. I remember that was the only part about the third one I really didn't like because he goes into the building to like get it and he's like, I'm going to go get this. And you're expecting like this big action scene.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to him jumping out the building. If you remember correctly, because he's like, I got it, I'm running. And then it's like, normally Mission Impossible movies show you that, him breaking in and going through like the lasers. And so that was the only part.
Lasers since the first one, though.
No, I mean,
he needs to do more laser Impossible work. Yeah,
he does.
Whatever. So what would you rate this thing?
Well, I would give it, so I want to say, first of all, as well, before I say what I'm going to give it as like a numbered rating. One of the things that I also really liked about it I felt like they came up with a theme that is slightly different for the Mission Impossible series and for these types of films in general than I've seen in a long time, which was Tom Cruise's character Ethan kind of had to make a choice at the beginning of the film that was more than just like right and wrong. Mm-hmm. It was there was no clear line of like this, because both have good things and both have bad things to them. Right. And so I liked that this gave a clear delineation of him having to make a choice, and then that informed. It didn't like force the rest of the movie to happen, but it informed where his character was and the decisions that people had to make throughout the rest of the movie. And I really liked that because it gave a more depth, a bigger depth to his character, and that it lacks, like in another movie, he would have just made the decision, and then the rest of the movie, everybody would have just been constantly saying like, this is that, and you're that, and because of that, and da-da-da. And it was like, no, that was there, but there was so many other nuanced layers of why characters were acting the way that they were. And I think with that as well, mixed with the idea that they're going to like move certain characters forward in different ways, made it a very enjoyable experience for me. Yeah. Set pieces were great. Action was great. So I'm giving this an 89.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think they had a lot of things, and they actually addressed some stuff that I think was kind of initiated and birthed out of Mission Impossible 3, kind of like how we're going to get more Mission Impossibles down the road. There was a comment that was made like, you know, this is what Ethan Hunt does. Yeah. Like there's not really any other time for anything else in his life, basically. Yeah. So, for what I saw, this is so tough for me because I didn't see the whole movie. But what I saw, I'm going to give it a 90. Okay. And it might change. But we'll see. I'm going to try and check it out again. Yeah. We'll see.
I think 89 is still great. 90 is really great. I think the only thing that really held it back for me was
the end.
And just, again, a little bit of like that, because it needs it just more of circumstantial situations. Yeah. Of like, we just need this to happen this way and that to happen that way. But really good movie. I'm actually, from this, I'm curious to see, and this is again a different franchise, but I'm curious to see what will happen with sort of the final bond that we have with Daniel Craig. Right. That series has been so up and down. I mean, it started on a high with Casino Royale, then it dropped off with Quantum, and then went way back up again. Adele, Skyfall, yeah, and then went way back down. And I'm thinking of Adele, and then way back down with Spectre. I thought was again very cheesy and silly. Septic. So I'm hoping this one, because it's like, so I'm hoping this one. Whereas Mission Impossible's been up. Yep. And then for the Furious films kind of reached a peak and then have just kind of flatlined. Yeah, and it's just very like, yeah. So I don't know.
Control.
We'll see.
They should call it Fast and Furious. Cruise Control. Dad jokes for days. I got 4 kids. I can do that.
Well, there you go. Yep. Hopefully the studio is listening. I'll write that up for the next one.
Send me a check.
There you go. So we're going to go ahead. Anything further?
No, that's it.
Cool. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up on the podcast for you here today. Some ways to get connected once again to us. RealReviewMedia.com for our website. Facebook.com/RealReviewMedia if you want to check us out on Facebook. Twitter and Instagram are both @RealReviewMedia. And we would love to hear your thoughts and perspectives on all the films, all the shows, all the things. Send us emails at realreviewmedia@gmail.com. We would love to hear your thoughts and get your perspective and input on the stuff that you're watching. And excited to be back, Matt, after a week off.
Me
ready
too.
to hit more films.
I'm really excited to see The Meg this weekend.
Roar, yeah. I'm mixed bag on that one.
Come on, you were telling me you were excited the other day.
They're chumming the waters of my interest.
Hey.
Yeah.
Puns.
I'm slightly excited. I will go see it.
It's going to be a dumb fun movie. I'm pretty sure this is going to be what I wanted Rampage to be.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Because Rampage failed. But this can be the fun one of the summer.
There you go. Awesome. Well, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, it's been real.
It's been real.